You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith. Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Killing After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Killing After Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Killing After Show, and Bing is for doing, and that is what we are doing tonight. It is episode 5 of season 3, of course, Eminent Domain. We've got a lot to discuss. You know, things are coming to a head. We've got a few more episodes left. You know what? Let's start off with Callie's mom, because we're left with that cliffhanger, and right off the bat, the episode overall for me was very good, but I had one issue with it, and that's I forgot our names. But I am Phil Svitek, joined alongside Marisa Serafini. So thank you, Marisa, for joining me. Let's discuss though. Last time we were left in such a cliffhanger of like, oh my God, what's he gonna do to her? And then cut to tonight's episode, we just see her going to the police station as if nothing had happened. Yeah,
we don't see her go from A to B, and she says a quick line that, like, I barely got away, but it doesn't seem like she put up much of a fight. Like, she didn't get into a fight with Joe, so I wonder if he let her go, or if she, like, literally just ran away.
You know, and the problem is, yeah, you can interpolate certain things, and we discussed it in the last episode, at least I did. Something like that, though, you know, for me, I was wondering how it was going to go, because it reveals his character. It reveals what, you know, as you said, what he's going to do with her. I thought he was going to try to attack her, or, you know what, did he get so scared that he himself ran? You know, but clearly that's not the case. But how do you get out of that situation? I want to know the how.
I know, and they didn't show it, and I'm actually upset because I was looking forward to seeing her get out of that awkward situation at the end, because from last week's episode, it looks like she was trapped, and he's just going to do something to her, but we didn't see that, and I'm upset that we didn't get that. Maybe we'll see it in a flashback.
No, I don't think so. I don't think we're going back to that, and, you know, the way they brushed over it. I'm
just hoping.
But in terms of her storyline, you know, now obviously since last episode, everything is real for her, and she kind of becomes finally active.
Yeah, she's finally really caring about Callie, actually going to the police and wanting someone to help her find her daughter. And, you know, she's even calling for Lyndon, and she tells her that, you know, like, we need help. I know I have information on Joe, and anything I have, all the knowledge I have can help find Callie, and she's even going to Bullet too, and just searching for Callie in that way.
But here's the thing for me. So right off the bat, you know, no one's kind of really helping her. And I was wondering, okay, what is that about? And obviously, you know, they have so many different cases that, you know, it's not necessarily the biggest priority necessarily. You know, there's no threat immediately to her. It's not like someone ran in, you know, it's not like he came into the police station, which obviously that's a haven for her at this point. But when she's talking with Lyndon, I really like Lyndon's take on it of like, you had your chance.
Exactly. And that's what I've been saying. If any of these people that Lyndon and Holder have been interrogating from the get-go have been honest, they wouldn't have been at this point and wouldn't have taken this long to finally get somewhere in this investigation.
You're exactly right. And so I think, you know, as we see her actively kind of searching, at least trying to get answers, which is funny, you know, it's kind of also a weird comparison. You know, we've gone on this journey for pretty much since episode 1, trying to find her, you know, at least, and, you know, mainly through the eyes of Holder and Bullet, even more so. And so to see her kind of do that in a different way and things like that, it's a nice little comparison. You know, but it's weird also because we've gone on this emotional journey and we've accepted the fact that we're probably not going to see her alive. And yet here's the mother who has finally come to that realization of, like, I got to find my daughter. Something's wrong.
Yeah, exactly. And I think better late than never, because at the beginning...
No, it's not, because she's dead.
Well, we don't know if she's dead yet. We're led to believe that she probably is dead, but I think it's good for Danette's character that she is finally starting to care about Callie. So better late than never.
In this situation, I don't think better late than never is good by any means. I'm sorry, I just don't. And I think
if she was honest from the get-go.
Here's the thing. I think she can move from it, in terms of if she learns something and she can potentially grow. I mean, that's very devastating for her as a mother, but it's an awful truth that she is responsible primarily for having done this. So.
Yeah. And I don't think there was in any way that Danette could have known Joe Mills was behind all this too.
Well, Lyndon would disagree with you.
Well, we don't know that. So.
Well, we don't know that, but she knew that it was the man's voice.
Yeah.
She knew that much, and so, that's really kind of up to her for having lied about that. It's also, it's interesting. So let's expand this and talk about the kids. And we won't necessarily discuss the beacon yet, which obviously that's Lyndon Holder's thing, so we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the fact that all these kids are looking for a place of refuge, right? And here's a person, no one else we've seen has sort of a mom to go to. Now here's Callie, who does have a mom to go to. Now, granted, it's not the greatest situation or whatever, but that's on the mom.
And Danette's I think she's finally starting to act like the mother she's supposed to be, nurturing and caring. And I think it's good for Bullet to maybe have another potential mother figure in her life too.
But the problem is you keep calling her a mother figure. I don't think she's a mother figure.
Well, no, not yet, but she potentially could be. She could be a mother that Bullet always needed. Perhaps. If she got her...
Perhaps, but it's
her ish together.
The greater point is, it's a very Hitchcock thing of, who's the villain? Well, ultimately, the villain's not the one that would look like necessarily the bad guy. It's more of someone who would seem like the good guy. And obviously, we'll discuss. Well, let's save that for the Beacon talk, because that's obviously a big thing. But let's talk about Bullet in this episode. Him kind of... First off, I'm surprised he's still not, or technically she, is not insulted that she keeps getting called Trigger. Or all these wrong words, or names rather, by the mother. But why do you think she ultimately helped her?
I think because they both genuinely care for Callie, and they're both desperate to find her. So they'll team up in that way, in any way, shape, or form that they have some possibility of finding Callie.
But hasn't Bullet already gone through the emotional journey of and finally accepted that, this is going to be unfruitful?
Well, we saw that at the end of last episode, but I think she still has some hope left that Callie is possibly still alive. And if she sees someone else also caring about trying to search for Callie, then she'll take any help that she can get.
Mm-hmm. All right, I can accept that answer. I mean, we didn't get the tip. I really like when we have more of Bullet, but I don't think I think we're gonna have a situation where we're gonna see a little bit less and less of her, perhaps, just given the nature of the way the storylines have to kind of go. But
I did like the story that Danette was telling Bullet when Callie was younger and they were playing hide and seek, that Callie wouldn't hide. So it shows, even from that storyline, it told the audience that Callie won't go missing on her own. So if she's missing, someone took her. And this is serious, because she wouldn't just up and leave at her free will.
Yeah. That is interesting. Yeah, that was a really good bonding moment sort of between them, and I think it was finally, in terms of if there is hope for the mother through realizing that, she could possibly change. Let's talk about kind of lyric and Bullet's developing relationship. We got a nice little moment of hey, I'm cold, can you keep me warm?
Yeah. I think it was interesting how both of these girls are going through such traumatic experiences in their lives, and Mitch left Lyric and Callie left Bullet, so they're both lonely, and I think they're just bonding in that sense for connection between each other.
Yeah. And I really like the line that Lyric says to Bullet of, you don't think I've noticed, but I've always noticed. Which I think finally confirms something within Bullet, that all this effort was not in vain.
Yeah. And I think it's sweet that they're still sticking together, because I always said that, if this core group stuck together, even though they're kind of disbanding a little bit, but like if they did stick together, I think they'd be fine. They'll turn out okay.
Well, you might be right. I agree with you in that sense. But all right, let's talk about more of the bigger storyline. But before we do, we do want to take a moment to thank all of you guys that write in, comment, etc. On all the various platforms. Continue doing that. Rate and comment. Let us know what you guys are thinking. We really, really appreciate it. And spread the word of AfterBuzz. Let your friend know. About AfterBuzz TV, even if they're not necessarily a fan of The Killing. We do 60 shows within any given week, with over 200 shows in our actual roster, so there's a show out there for everybody.
Good chances we cover them.
That's right.
And we have a new website. You should check it out there. Rate and comment on the website and check out all the pictures that we have there. And you can see what we're talking about.
That's right. We're making it more and more interactive, and we're even now in the midst of improvements and things like that. So we like to constantly keep improving based off of your feedback, but that means we need your feedback in order to continue to improve. Yes. All right, let's switch gears and let's talk about the precinct, kind of from that perspective, and the politics that are going on there. We've talked about we want to see more of Holder and Lyndon and kind of back to that relationship, but now we're getting that splintered. We got it a little bit early on, and then obviously with Skinner, there was basically that he made that huge divide, and now they're separated.
Yeah, and I think Skinner made a good point that Lyndon is getting too emotionally involved, and we've seen in the past few seasons that Lyndon isn't really an emotional being. She's very stoic, and so when Lyndon's getting emotional, you can tell this is real, this is serious, and I think Skinner thinks that's affecting her judgment.
Okay, so I like seeing her finally be emotional.
I like it too.
But let's answer this question. Is it actually clouding her judgment?
I don't think so, no. But I think Skinner thinks that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And it's nice kind of we're through Holder, ironically, we're reminded most of kind of he always manages to ask a question, which is really more for the audience, not necessarily for anybody else, where, he answers what the audience, he kind of realigns us to what the primary purpose is. And, it's, okay, we have to make a connection back to Seward, and nothing's making that connection. Or in tonight's episode, the one witness you had says Joe Mills is not the guy. So all of these kind of different things are falling through the cracks. And so he reminds us of, okay, what is the goal and what's stopping this case from kind of being closed?
Yeah, and I agree. He asks all the correct questions that the audience is realizing. And then he's also he's more the realistic, emotional person, as in contrast to Lyndon, because Lyndon's the very serious one, and very textbook kind of person. And Holder is the one that everyone actually enjoys watching during investigations. And I like how there was the one moment at the beginning of the episode where he kept Lyndon in check when she was interrogating the victim in the hospital.
Yeah, I agree. It was good for him to keep her in check, but also, as has always been your bigger point. If these people were just more truthful, and you know what, she actually might be truthful, and that is also part of the problem. But it also, you know, think of Adrian. In Adrian's case, it's not that I don't think he's being not truthful. It's just the fact of he's hidden it, and you know, as Skinner says, you guys questioned him for basically 6 hours. What more can you get out of him? You know, and you know, unfortunately, time is against us. We got 12 more days. Yeah,
for Seward. And the thing with Adrian is that it wasn't like he was necessarily lying. It was he was withholding all the details that they could have used in the first place. And
I also think he blocked them. I mean, think about it. You're a
traumatic
kid,
experience.
You know, but I really like how everything's kind of working against Lyndon. You know, Lyndon got so emotional because of all these different things, and you know, the fact that, you know, let's call them guardians, I guess, of Adrian, you know, said don't come near him, don't question him, things like that. And obviously, what does she need the most? That to happen.
She needs to talk to Adrian.
Yeah. So, I thought that was really kind of cool how that perspired. That was a great little kind of scene, and still on her part, total disregard of, like, as soon as she realizes something, she's like, okay, I'm out. Yep, won't do it again.
That's it.
So she's just got to work on slightly politics, and I think she'll get a few more things.
And I think her bedside manners, yes.
That's what I'm saying. It's, you know, part of all that. Had she just been a little bit nicer, apologetic, you know what? I think she could have even possibly seen Adrian. But also look at it from their perspective. You know, I mean, think of talking about Adrian's traumatization. You know, the fact that he finally was sleeping in a bed and now he's not again. You know, interesting kind of how that developed. And they did 6 months for them to kind of really train him.
Yeah, and that was such a pivotal moment in the episode because it really had a breakthrough in this whole investigation. Because when Holder and Lyndon went back to the apartment Adrian used to live in and realized that he's sleeping in the closet, and I loved how Lyndon put herself in Adrian's shoes, literally in his position that he used to sleep in, and the audience finds out that Adrian probably saw the killer.
Yeah. Well, so does
I thought that
Lyndon.
was really smart.
Yeah, although they weren't technically supposed to necessarily be there, but all good.
But you do what you have to do, you know, to
Lyndon does.
find it out.
Lyndon does. But that's where Holder gets reprimanded for the fact of, like, hey, do some actual detective work. Find me Joe. So it's kind of interesting, you know, in terms of the grand scheme of things, okay, what's better, to look for Joe or kind of solve, you know, go down this hill, and you know, how does it all kind of intertwine, and when does it stop?
And I can understand why they want to look for Joe now, because he's the one that's active. He's the one with all these missing girls case. This is the active case, and Adrian's case is cold.
Yeah.
So it's about immediacy.
I agree, and you know, to go back for a moment, I thought it was interesting when they were interrogating the girl, you know, that we discovered last episode. You know how she says, "Do you think it will kind of bother or whatever?" You know, she's basically saying, "I don't have a ring finger. How can I get married?" And I thought that was it was an interesting point in the sense of it really hit home. And I think if you're an audience member, you know, you kind of can't help but shed a tear maybe, or, you know, certainly feel sadness if nothing else.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, and it just kind of, you know, because we've always kind of gotten it from Lyndon how horrific this is, but to really see a victim kind of explain it in those terms, just really humanizes it.
Yeah, and I think it's just another way to really have the audience realize that this is a very serious case, and it's affecting everyone, not just the victim. It's affecting the people who are trying to, you know, solve this case, and even the audience. So it is just all the more reasons to solve everything.
Yeah. Okay, so let's kind of, you know, let's skip to Seward, and then we'll kind of tie Lyndon back in. Big episode for Seward.
Yeah, like I.
Not necessarily screen time wise, but
his character development was big in this episode, I think.
Well, I know. So I mean, so okay, let's talk about the suicide of his friend.
Poor Alton. I actually felt bad because Alton, he's just totally down on his luck, and as the audience, we usually see Alton as this happy, cherry-go-lucky guy who's talking Seward's ear off, and he was complete opposite. So you know something was up, something was not right. And when going back watching, because I watched this episode twice, and we had the subtitles on, in the subtitles it said tearing, and I didn't pick that up the first time I watched it. So you can hear the tearing of the mattress. Yeah. The bed. And I was like, oh, that was really serious. And during that, I didn't realize that Seward, the first time when he was talking to Alton, that he knew that he was going to kill himself.
Yeah, I think he accepted it. You know, I think Alton did it because of everything. You know, certainly we've seen many conversations between them, but you also have to imagine there's multiple conversations we haven't seen that. You know, they might have covered other minutia, and obviously Seward is to be hanged, and so for Alton to kind of emulate what will happen to Seward is interesting, and because the one word I go back to with Seward, you know, he said it's courage. Who's got kind of more courage, and you know, being hanged, I guess, you know, that it's more courageous to do that than, you know, be euthanized.
Yeah, and there was another moment during that scene. He said, "The hard part's over. Now all you have to do is just let go."
Yeah.
And Seward watching this death made me go back to like the very first episode when he was talking about killing and very detailed. He was just standing there watching. So that was another sadistic moment of Seward that he actually probably kind of enjoyed watching Alton kill himself.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting watching Seward because, again, we've said he's definitely a killer.
Yeah.
We know that much. But is he the killer of, you know, what happened with Adrian and kind of all these things, or, you know, and that's going to be the interesting part, learning that full backstory. And it also, you know, in this tit for tat war between him and Becker, I would say he's won.
I think so, yes, because Seward, he's a very complicated soul. And there are moments where I root for Seward, like, oh, he's making it actually a really good point. But then there's others, like, he's a really messed up guy.
Yeah, okay. Why do you think, what was the deciding factor in terms of Becker kind of not being there?
I don't.
What do you think it, or let's back up, you know, I'm kind of, quote, leading the witness, trying to get you to say my point. So do you think perhaps he's just sick? That's why Becker's not there. Like, what is the reason for you that Becker is not there?
I don't think he's caring about this case anymore, and he's letting Seward and Alton kind of just go about themselves. And I thought it was really actual coincidence that he wasn't there.
Do you think it's coincidence?
Even though all this went down at the same time.
I don't think it's just coincidence.
No?
I think someone told him that you're too invested in this. I imagine he had a Skinner in his life that said, like, you're getting way too emotional, because he was. He kept saying, you know, and ironically, he was the one who was telling Frank and all those guys, you know, you can't, you know, you check your emotions at the door. But as we discussed, you know, last episode or the episode prior, you know, he's unable to check out of his police duties when he comes into his own home. So he's the exact opposite. And so, you know, I'm sure someone recognized that within him that was a superior and said, listen, you got to stop. Mm-hmm. You got to turn off.
And then the fact that it just happened to be the night that...
I honestly think you're not giving Seward enough credit. I think he had not necessarily the Alton death. I don't think to that extent, but I think in terms of a war of attrition against Becker, I think he knew what he was doing.
Okay. All right, I can see that.
You know, and because I think the only times that we really see him shaken up is really with Lyndon. She's able to kind of get to his core. I mean, let's talk about his father first, because that was an interesting scene in itself. You know, because obviously his goal is to see his son, and so you know now we're kind of seeing the reverse of that, where he is the son and there's his dad. Mm. What is your take on that scene?
I thought that scene was interesting. It kind of gave us a little backstory on Seward's personal life, and I thought the cinematography in that scene, because it showed both of them on each end of the table, and like compositionally they were equal, even though, and it showed that both guys aren't the greatest human beings. So I thought it was interesting how they both paralleled each other, and his father didn't seem like he really cared about Seward, even and all the acts that Seward has done and the reason why he's there in prison. And the father was like, well, you were a brat kid anyways, so I'm not surprised that you ended up here.
Yeah. And, you know, it's actually interesting you bring that up, because if we're to tie it back to the kids' storyline, if only they had someone in their lives to care about them, yeah, they wouldn't kind of end up on this path. So it's an interesting kind of cautionary tale that, you know, whether advertently or inadvertently they're telling.
Yeah, and I think it's sad because usually in your last few days on Earth that you make amends and have closure with the people who are close to you, such as family. And I thought this was what the audience was going to see, you know, closure with Seward and his father, and it really wasn't. It wasn't the closure that
Seward's
someone
not really
might
about
want
that.
to. No. But I think it should have been a moment where of forgiveness and making amends between a father and a son who's had a rough past, but it didn't end up there.
No, and I think Seward right now is just not that guy. I mean, again, no one's really kind of helped him, and it seems like, again, now as we're learning throughout his life, and so when Lyndon comes in and to a degree says, I was wrong, that's when it kind of finally hits for him. But he says, you know, you were too late. Where was this when I really needed it? Mm-hmm. You know, and I think she was just the tipping point. You know, I think everyone their whole life has come up to him and said, you know, I'm sorry for not doing this. I think they were much like Callie's mom, where like, okay, they finally realized something, but again, it's too late. And you know what? It's a good point you made. Better late than never. But I think the point, if there is anything to take away from tonight's episode, better late than never is not good. You either do it or you don't.
And if Callie turns up alive, then yes, better late than never. If she's dead,
I think she's dead. I think she's dead. She's gone.
Then yeah, that'd be really disappointing.
I think that is the.
I think Callie is probably dead by now, because it's been 5 to 6 days. Her chances are, you know, quickly diminishing. So I don't think Callie's alive anymore. But yes, if they were honest. Shit.
I think the theme of this season is becoming, you know, you just gotta be. There's no late. Can't be late. And obviously that the biggest struggle of that is the fact that, and ironically why I think Lyndon got so mad at her, Callie's mom, was because I think she's seeing perhaps a little bit of herself in this. The fact that she didn't realize certain things when she should have about Seward, or didn't step up when she should have, you know, she was quiet. And so I think ironically that's where that anger really stemmed from, and that's why, you know, she's kind of had this notion in her mind and it sat there. So I think she's really kind of narrating her own life.
Yeah, and I think Lyndon's pretty much reflecting all of our thoughts too. It's like, because everyone she's interrogating, she's always having to find herself go back and reinterrogate them. And she's just doing more work than she could have if everyone was honest. Yeah,
but I think the point I'm making is that she wasn't honest with herself, or she wasn't strong enough to stand up, you know, all those years ago for Seward, and now she realizes that she did make a mistake, and, you know, now and part of why everyone's kind of dying is because she didn't get the killer. It's the same killer and things like that. And so ultimately, you know, if you really want to boil it down, it comes to Lyndon to blame on this.
Because she didn't catch him the first time.
Well, she didn't catch him the first time, and she wasn't honest about it. And so now, you know, as much as she's trying to save Seward, she's also really trying to redeem herself. And, you know, they've got 12 days to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Get her credibility back.
It's not that. Get her humanity back. She goes more than that. As much as we joke about Linda not having a soul and not really caring about humanity, and all she does is want to care about the dead and figure out that, you know, I think, you know, she cares about the human side more than we give her credit for. And that's why she, you know, she's doing this, and she's not letting her emotions appear to us as much, but finally we're getting them. Now we're starting to see that.
Yeah. And this is her way of showing her emotions, I guess, kind of putting all of her drive and whatnot into this investigation. Yeah.
And you know what? Skinner is right in the sense that it is an obsession, but it's an obsession because of circumstances. So, you know, it's interesting. I wonder where Seward's kind of going to go with this now that he knows this information, you know, whether or not he cools down and is like, okay, you know, let's do this, let's work together. You know, because obviously it's interesting seeing the two sides of it. He wants the help, but then he's also a rebel and doesn't want it and things like that. So we'll see what ultimately wins out. But let's I got to give you credit because you knew something about who the killer possibly could be.
Yep, the priest, or the pastor.
So talk about that aspect of it. How, you know, when did you kind of first start knowing and whatnot?
Well, when Holder was talking to Lyndon, like, and he was putting his mindset into the victims, and he was studying the victimology of all these girls, and going back to the victim that they were interrogating at the beginning of the episode, she said that she only saw the guy's eyes. And then he mentioned Shepard, and even last week we were talking about religion and faith, and so I think it was just all the religious aspects and elements they were talking about. It led me back to the pastor. And then he mentioned confessional, and yes, I am Catholic, but in confessional, there's usually two options. You can face the priest face to face or behind a screen, and if you're behind the screen, you can usually just generally make out eyes or like some little delineation of the face. So it just brought me back to pastor, religion.
And everyone keeps saying, you know, he was gentle, it's someone I trusted, etc. And so, you know, it makes sense. Yeah. And so obviously, you know, the cliffhanger of tonight's episode was the fact that we go to the beacon and we're like, okay, where's this guy? Mm-hmm.
And then, and the first time we even meet that guy, he had pictures of all the girls that could have been missing in the same manner of all the victims that they had at the precinct.
Yeah, that was in terms of camera work, that was really interesting, right? So, you know, we had this slow kind of moment of Holder looking at all those pictures and taking that, and it was like, okay, poor Holder. And and it worked out filmmaking wise really well when we cut to, and then we see the same thing.
Yep.
So I'm interested where this is going. So would you like to head into predictions?
Sure.
And now your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, so I predict we got you know, they always tease such like strong moments of the show. Next week we have people busting in and things like that. So hopefully it's going to be an action-packed episode. But as we know with the show, it's a little bit slow-paced, which obviously that's what we love about it. But I would also love to see some of that action and to see where that goes.
I think we're going to see another confrontation with Lyndon and Adrian, despite the Guardians' permission. I think Lyndon's going to maybe go back to the playground or something, or find some clever way to get in contact with Adrian to find more about this investigation.
Well, Lyndon technically can't, but nothing says Holder can't.
That's true.
You know.
True. And I thought that Danette was going to die. I thought Joe Mills was going to kill her. That didn't end up happening.
Well, I didn't think that was going to happen because obviously from last week's teaser, she made it to the precinct safe.
Yeah.
But I want to know what the hell happened.
Yeah, so do I. So I'm upset they didn't show that.
Yeah.
So maybe Joe really isn't the guy we're looking for?
Yeah, but he may not be the guy that we're looking for, but he's
definitely involved.
Yeah. So there's a lot of weird things that have yet to be answered, but we've only got a few more episodes to answer them. So in the meantime, let us know your thoughts, your opinions by going to AFTERBUZZTV.com or the other various things, such as Twitter, Facebook, I guess I
Yeah.
don't know how you can comment. You can comment on Instagram, I guess. And also, we've been telling you for a couple weeks now, Adventure of the Serial Buddies, if for some reason you haven't downloaded this amazing movie, and for the first time listeners, for whatever reason, it's the first serial killer buddy comedy of all time, produced under the umbrella of Kevin Undergaro and Maria Menounos, starring the likes of Henry Winkler, Artie Lang, Beth Bears, Kathy Lee Gifford, Christopher McDonald, Christopher Lloyd. You know, go see it, download it. It's available now on iTunes at the price of $5.99 and SerialBuddies.com.
It's really funny, and it helps AfterBuzz keep bringing you free content.
That's right. Free content such as this and the plethora of other shows that we do have. So stick around if you're, you know, watching live for the other shows. And if not, just go download them. Anyway, you can find Marisa at...
I'm on Twitter and on Instagram at Serafini TV.
That's right, and she also does the Rookie Blue after show, which might be of interest. She also did Hemlock Grove, which might, I think it's, you know, I think it's on the same
Killing
plane.
range, yeah.
If you want something totally different, but with Marissa on it, check out the Glee after show. Anyway, we'll be back next week. Thank you guys for tuning in.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.